Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game. Today I got a fun and exciting episode for you guys this evening as Smash Bros. Remix 2.0 just released, and it brings in a laundry list of changes so long that you could almost consider it a novella. This is just absolutely a love letter to Smash Bros. On Nintendo 64, and with new characters, new stages, new music, a ton of bug fixes, and a lot of other features. This just absolutely is a massive update that if you haven't checked out yet, you need to do. Before I get too far involved though, do me a huge favor down below, hit like and subscribe and ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined and want to support the channel, got a Patreon link down below as well. But Smash Bros. Remix is just an absolute insane amalgamation of new characters, new stages, basically taking what existed on the Nintendo 64 and multiplying it exponentially with fun. You're going to get new characters, you're going to get new stages, you're going to get new audio options, you're going to get a metric ton of bug fixes and a lot more. And you're even going to get Crash Bandicoot in the game, and that's absolutely hilarious. One of the biggest additions to Remix 2.0 is going to be a Sony PlayStation mascot in and of themselves. If you're wondering, Peach, Roy, Dr. Luigi, and Lanky Kong were also added as well, and that is absolutely amazing because honestly they just keep adding characters to Smash Remix, and every single one is just as fun as the last. But for me personally, seeing Crash Bandicoot come in is just a straight up 10 out of 10. And obviously you saw, at least in the intro to this video, I kind of wrapped this around my overall MiSTer FPGA Nintendo 64 core editing scheme, because all of the footage you're seeing here is captured on the N64 core. This will work on real hardware so long as you have an expansion pack. It'll obviously run on software emulation, but playing on MiSTer FPGA is always my preferred way to play Nintendo 64 games because you get all of the quality of life improvements of that digital signal, including on the awesome audio. And it's the first soundtrack sample segue, 45 seconds, and I'll be right back with a lot more. I mean, just having a stage from the original Super Mario 64 incorporated into Smash Bros. With alternative music is just 100% something that makes you happy, and that really is what Smash Remix is. Sure, if you're a competitive player, it's a lot more than that, but it's one of those things. This game is just here to give you more fun to have within Smash Bros. Whether you're a Nintendo 64 fan, a Nintendo fan in general, or even a PlayStation fan or other consoles, the amount on offer here is just insane, including all of the different options. Basically, every single bit of your experience with Remix 2.0 is configurable in the options menu. You can basically make any sort of match you want, play this game how you want to, and I really love that ethos, giving the player creative control to kind of make the Smash experience they want to have. It's one of those things you always think to yourself when you're playing a game, I wish they had just done this as well. So when developers and modders like the Remix team go in, they kind of use that mindset being like, what would we have loved to have seen, what would be fun, and then they just throw that into the game, and that is just so much fun. And I love that fans keep these games alive, because honestly, fans do what Nintendo don't in this situation, and even if you play a modern re-release of Smash 64, it is still just the base game, nothing really extra going on. Where here, if you want to fight in front of the Great Deku Tree, you can 100% do that in the Kokiri Forest with music from The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And honestly, Lanky Kong, an absolutely hilarious character here. And think of it this way, it's one of those things, they're not just throwing in models, they're creating movesets and trying to understand how somebody like Lanky Kong would actually fit into the overall combat scheme of Smash Brothers, because fighting games basically live or die competitively on their overall balance. And sure, you're going to have character tiers where some characters are going to be better than others, but you have to have the game overall balanced, or it's just not really going to find a competitive scene, because people aren't going to want to play it because it doesn't really hit, pun very much intended. The developers of Remix have done an amazing job not just adding new characters in, but making sure they make sense contextually within the combat world of Smash, making sure the balance is good, and making sure you're having fun when you're playing it. But it's soundtrack sample 2 times because I love the music in this game. So go ahead and listen for 35 seconds, but come back because I got a lot more fun additions to show you.
3, 2, 1, go!
Not only is it fun to get music from Mother 3 in Smash Remix, but also it's fun to see what could have been, because obviously if you're not aware, Mother 3 or Earthbound 64 was an in-development 3D version of the game that was previewed, shown off in videos, and then ultimately cancelled until it was pivoted over to the Game Boy Advance. And while Mother 3 on the GBA is an absolutely spectacular game that if you've never played, you definitely should, it has always been a disappointment of mine and pretty much everyone else's that the actual 64 version of the game never came out. So seeing Mother 3 in 3D on the Nintendo 64 is something that you can kind of do within the world of Remix, and that really is fun. And I can't stress enough just how much of a love letter this is to the history of Nintendo and history of video games in general, because we obviously keep getting Smash games, and I'm sure we'll be getting one on the Switch too eventually, but the fans kind of do just these fun things that even Nintendo don't think of, and that really is something that feels special. But leave me a comment down below and you tell me, have you ever played Remix before? I would be curious. And what is your favorite Smash game? For me, the one on GameCube, probably my #1 favorite, but honestly all the entries are fun even if I'm not the best at them. And big thanks to Kilter Music and Andy D for helping us with the captures this week as well. I've had an absolutely massively busy week dealing with some family issues, so their help has been invaluable for me to be able to edit this, check it out in the background, and voice it over. But as we move on here, Goemon, just such a fun character to actually play in as Smash, and that really is the nice thing about something like Remix. You have an almost unlimited, what feels like, roster of characters to choose from. You can play around, you can experiment with who you like, and you can decide kind of how you want to play the game. So let me know who you main in Smash Remix if you do play it. I would be curious about that as well. And I will say, just in the MiSTer FPGA component side of things, the visual quality here, the performance on the core, getting the clean HDMI out along with all of the audio, just makes this so incredibly fun to play. If you put this on your TV or your 4K OLED by instance, the game looks absolutely spectacular, and it's one of those things, it's not just a modification to add characters, improve bugs in the background, there's also artists working on putting all of this stuff into the game in and of itself, so you have to think, it's not just a coding team, there's artists and modelers kind of bringing things in and making sure they all fit visually within the world of Smash 64, and that is definitely not something that is easy to do, because if you didn't add the graphics in the correct way, and there was a visual mismatch between what you would expect Smash graphics to look like versus what the artist put in, you would definitely notice that almost immediately, and it might actually bring you out of the overall experience. But it's the third and final soundtrack sample time, and of course I had to end it with some Crash Bandicoot music, because Crash is in this build of the game, and of course you're going to get a stage dedicated to him, and that is just so much fun. So go ahead and listen just for 35 seconds this time, but come back, I'll close out the video and tell you how to get this game if you never checked it out. But enjoy!
1, go!
I mean, not only is it fun to get Crash Bandicoot in something like Smash Remix, but I love the music in that game, and it sounds great coming out of the N64. And just so you're aware, it's not just Crash Bandicoot, there's an alternate polygonal model of him as well, so they couldn't even decide which Crash to add in. They just figured, you know what, we'll add in more than one for you. And that really is seemingly the ethos of the Remix team. Give you absolutely everything to have fun with, no holds barred, just make sure the game stays balanced and have a ton of fun with it. Something like the Game Boy medley here, kind of having that green hue of an original Game Boy, it's just absolutely stunning to look at, and that really is the thing. If you pay attention, there's a ton of Easter eggs in Remix 2.0. This kind of call back to different video game franchises and pieces of hardware. Obviously this one's pretty easy to tell because it is DMG based as far as that screen is concerned, but there's so many other little visual details in Remix that if you look hard enough, you'll start noticing them and you'll have an absolute blast with them. Now if you want to grab this game, you go to the GitHub link down below, and you'll definitely have to patch your own version of it that you bring to the party, but this will run on real Nintendo 64 hardware with an expansion cart. It'll run on Ares. I tested that as well before I did the voiceover, and of course it works on MiSTer FPGA, and any game that has Mischief Makers inside of it, 10 out of 10 in my book. It really makes me think it would be amazing if Mischief Makers came back in a full 3D game. Would love to see it. Leave me a comment down below and you tell me what's your favorite new character in this version of Remix. If you played it, I would be curious. And again, if you've never checked out Remix before, you're 100% missing out if you're a Smash Brothers fan. But we're done. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Crash Bandicoot forever, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.